Metropolis today is simply a product of the Industrial Revolution. Industrialization hit the Northeast the hardest, and the earliest. Northeast was home to many merchants and entrepreneurs willing to invest in British practices. In order to truly acknowledge their newly gained independence, the emerging nation felt to compete economically in the world. This motivation drove the success of America's capitalist economy and the growth of their cities. As a result of innovation becoming more popular and technology becoming more common, manufacturing became an important industry, and factories became an industrial giant in order to sustain these demands. Factories were held in large cities, and eventually manufacturing grew to the extent where people in farms and villages were drawn away from their traditional lifestyle into the factories in big cities, where higher wages were guaranteed. As a result of this, populations of these cities skyrocketed. As you can see by this graph, in 1820, only one city, New York City, held a population of over 100,000 residents. By 1860, almost all cities held this title. Although we had farmers and village people moving into these larger cities, there were some traditional schools of thought. Some were reluctant to give up their lifestyle despite the higher wages and the growing metropolises, as they saw the growth of industry to be a diversion from their true calling on the land. Although, despite this fact, cities still grew. New York City, for example, experienced the most growth during this time period, and today it's still the largest city in the U.S. The rise of New York is greatly credited to their practice of the American system of free enterprise, a system which encouraged individuals to make their own choices, to make their own economical decisions in business and practice them without strict government control. This allowed businessmen and entrepreneurs to set up factories in very strategical ways which would maximize profits and product assembly. This is pretty much what ultimately gave rise to the capitalist economy. New York practiced this system religiously and adopted manufacturing premises, steamships, cheap transportation by rail and canal, abundant labor, which all made New York increasingly dominant as an industrial giant. And by the mid-1800s, the New York port had handled more goods and people than all other American ports combined. Along with New York were Buffalo and Detroit, which had also set up factories to meet the demands of the growing populations. Now, as a result of these cities, as the result of the large cities on the rise, the international image of America as a self-sufficient market had been established. As a result of the growing population of these urban cities, this developed America's economic identity in the world, as a trading partner, as everything. Now, as cities grew, as large urban cities grew, there were many other things which were on the rise during this time period. Where the hell is this? Although an expansion in cities indicates a growth in economy, the society within, the population, it will evolve along with this. Thank you.